just like Harlan Crow, came into his life after he was appointed to the Supreme Court. That's why it's so problematic from an ethics standpoint.
I'll point out Wayne Huizenga died about 5 years ago, so this has been going on for quite a long time. There's no evidence that these rich friends broke any rules or laws in giving these gifts. And it is not entirely clear technically if Clarence Thomas broke any rules by accepting them right now. But what has happened here, the earlier revelations really raised a public furor over the idea that there should be strict and clear rules about what the Supreme Court justices can and can't accept. And no doubt that drumbeat is going to get a lot louder now.
Tom Foreman, thank you. It certainly is.
All right, joining us at the table now is one of the ProPublica reporters behind this investigation, Brett Murphy, also with the CNN senior legal analyst Ellie Honig, and CNN political analyst and national politics reporter for the New York Times, Ested Herndon. Brett, let me start with you. This is more than, of course, what we learned earlier this year, this relationship with Harlan Crow. That was, I guess, some could have said an uncomfortable or inappropriate relationship with one person. 38 vacations, 26 private jet flights, and the sporting events. This seems like a lifestyle.
Yeah, for about 30 years now, this has been consistent, steady access to things most people will never know. Private jet flights, yacht vacations, luxury suites at sporting events, year in and year out, time and again.
And when you say most people will never know, you write for ProPublica that this is almost certainly an undercount.
That's right. Yeah, we're still reporting, and there's evidence that there may be many more. So we're being conservative now with our figures, but we're still reporting on it.
More than 100 people you interviewed for just this. Tell people how you found all of this out.
Yeah, so, this is a kind of classic daisy chain where you talk to one source who knows three others, but we were reaching out to anyone we could, flight attendants, pilots, drivers, chauffeurs, security guards, anyone who might be in the inner circles of some of these ultra-wealthy benefactors, and then people in the Supreme Court world and in Thomas's world as well, trying to get the fullest picture we could.
And just before we bring in the team, one of the things that I was struck by, and people should understand, is that Justice Thomas has often talked about living not a lavish life, whether it's in a documentary that was done on him or things that he's said about, basically, I don't do this job for the money, right? So he has put forward to the public, has he not, a much more humble lifestyle?
He has, yeah. He's kind of created that image and said multiple times, even in his relationship with Wayne Huizenga, he said, we just like to sit on the front porch and talk and drink iced tea. But that's not what happened. He's been flown around on Huizenga's jet, taken to the sporting events, taken to his luxury golf club. So he says one thing, but the reporting shows other things.
So, Ellie, ProPublica reports, and Tom just covered in his report, that Huizenga, Sokol, and Novelli had no legal cases before the Supreme Court during this documented relationship. How should that inform, if at all, how people consume what's being reported?
It shouldn't matter at all, because the point here is the appearance of impropriety. The fact that we wouldn't know, by the way, about any of this if not for ProPublica, and your publication deserves real credit for blowing the lid off of this. But how does Clarence Thomas think the world actually works? Like, we all have friends. Do any of your friends pay for your private vacations? It's unheard of. And the reason is this is a problem is it undermines public confidence, rightly so. We all ask, I think, logically, why on earth are these guys spending millions of dollars, according to your reporting? Why is he accepting this? Why isn't he reporting it? And when you see these polls that show that the American people's confidence is at an all-time low in the Supreme Court, I don't think it's necessarily because of the judicial outcomes they're delivering. People will always disagree on that. I think it's because we're now learning more than ever about just all the money flowing through here and all the lack of disclosure and transparency.
Yeah. I mean, I think that type of, the Supreme Court has existed in this kind of vaunted place where there wasn't this type of scrutiny that was really applied to some of these justices. And I think that really matters for the public perception here. We're increasingly seeing a public that's dealing with the reality that these Supreme Court justices are experiencing this influx of money, are so close to these kind of billionaires. And I think that appearance of impropriety has really set in. So when you see kind of public reacting to that lack of trust really building up. I do think it's a buildup of some of these type of things. Now, it goes along with judicial outcomes, I would say, also, but just the feeling that the Supreme Court has existed in a place that was outside of scrutiny and, more importantly, can't really do anything about it, right? Like, that's the other thing that's come out from this, is that it's not leading to an outcome that I think a lot of folks would expect when there's been such clear reporting.
If I can build on that, just whenever there has been an effort to enforce some sort of accountability, the response from the Supreme Court has been galling, right? A couple months ago, the U.S. Senate invited Chief Justice Roberts to come testify. Hey, we'd like to know what your ethical rules are, and is there any way we might be able to pass legislation? And Chief Justice Roberts responded with a condescending 2 or 4 page letter where he basically said, first of all, allow me to correct some misperceptions. They like to blame the media for fostering misperceptions rather than actually transparency, which you all are accounting. And then he says, yes, we know we consult with, we're not bound by, but we consult with various sources. And it was just this blow off. And you wonder why people have no faith in them.